Good morning. It is a week before taper, so last bit of volume before give my legs a nice cool down and get ready for the Leona Divide 100 mile. That'll be taking place April 18th. Starting at 5:30 in the morning. Got my wife, her mom, my kids, and I'm pretty sure Eric and Jessica coming out. Eric's gonna pace me around 20-ish miles late in the race and hopefully push me to another PR. Like I said, my last race was a training race. That was the 24-hour. Got my 100-mile PR at 22:08. So, see if we can break that. It's gonna be a lot more climbing. But it's not a loop course, so a lot fewer stops. Not stopping every 2 miles. And I think I got my system down, so getting back into the races that I've done this year. Will Rogers 12-hour, Pirates Cove 24-hour. Might be thinking, why go out and do such a long training race? Now, of course, both those races ended up going really well. I got first place at the 12-hour, second place at the 24-hour. It's really easy to come out on a day like today where I'm going to do 2.5 to 3 hours and fuel and hydrate the whole time. It's much more challenging to do that once you get like more than 6 hours, above 12, especially going towards that 24-hour range. Because the last thing you want to do in the middle of a race is stop fueling yourself. If you're going out on a long drive and, you know, maybe you're going for a road trip and driving from one state to another, you don't stop to fuel your car's not gonna make it. Same with your body. Going for a long run, you stop fueling your body, you're gonna start to bonk. You may not make it. So, gotta be able to know how to fuel your body in a way that's gonna be sustainable for the long run. And that's exactly what that was about. Also testing out gear. I was trying out some running tights, different shoes, different shoe changes, especially in the 24-hour. So there's a lot of information that I needed to gather from myself during those runs in order to make Leona be the best race possible. So, while fueling can be easy in the sense of carbohydrates, the other side is your electrolytes and your water. So, it was a huge success in both those races. I was able to eat the whole time. I wasn't, in a sense, tracking 100% how many carbohydrates per hour, but I knew it was around 60 plus, which is about the minimum I want to take in, 60 grams per hour. And then hydrating. So you can't just drink water. You have to add in electrolytes, because you don't just sweat water, you sweat salt. So sodium, magnesium, potassium being the main three that you need to replenish. Now, as if that wasn't enough to just throw in an extra variable, you've also got to keep in mind that everybody is different. My rate at which I lose electrolytes is going to be different than the way that you lose electrolytes. Now you can do tests, little sweat patches. I know they've got like things you can wear now that will essentially tell you, or you can just play around with it, which is what I did. So, in so doing, I did about 2 or 3 sweat tests on the bike where essentially I'm in an environment with no airflow and seeing how much I sweat then, and it's a bit hotter, and then 2 or 3 on the road, and then a couple long runs. Now, why did I do so many different variations? Bike, indoor, run, long run. Well, when you're out in a 24-hour race, you're not going to be in the same conditions the whole time. You're going to start maybe when it's cool, like I will at Leona, so we're starting super early. It's going to get hot throughout the middle of the day, and it'll be cool again at night. So you need to know what affects your sweating, or even if you're pushing harder. So indoor on the bike, it's much more controllable to keep your heart rate in a specific zone. You can also know a little bit more definitively about how hot it is, but the downside is there's no airflow. So for me, that made me sweat about twice as much, which you definitely should be sweating more if it's hotter, but you got to take that with a grain of salt, no pun intended, and really be able to know about how much you want to adjust your hydration plan as it gets hotter. What are the variables you want to look at when you're doing your own sweat tests? So number 1, weight. You want to weigh yourself before and after the sweat test to see how much you have lost via water in that time. Now, if you're drinking something, you need to add that in, and if you go to the bathroom, you've got to subtract that out. So on my long runs, I use one of my soft blasts. Don't worry, I washed it really good after. Because it had measurements to measure how much I peed. So that will give you, you plug that into Google or ChatGPT or whatever, and that will give you how much weight in ounces, converted to ounces, that you lost during your run. And that's important because you need to know how much to replenish in order to stay hydrated. You don't always want to, or I guess from what I've heard, you don't want to replenish 100%. You want to do like 75 to 90%. Because for me, on the bike, losing over 50 ounces an hour, it's a lot of water to drink in an hour. The bike, it's a lot easier because you're not, you have bottle cages, not bounce around as much. But on the trail, that'd be a lot to consume, a lot to carry. Now, on my runs, cooler mornings, be around 30 ounces per hour, warmer, 36 to 38. And then over my long runs with rehydrating, going through cool to warmer temperatures, I was right around 36. So that gave me a good, range to know how to refuel in different conditions. All right, so the other side of that coin is how much salt do you need to replenish while you're out there? Now, if you look primarily at sodium, the recommendation is to start around 300 to 500 milligrams per liter. If you're peeing a lot, it means that you're not having enough. If it's causing stomach issues and swelling, you're having too much. But everybody responds different, and so it's not as straightforward as that. So, and the best thing to do would be to do one of those sweat test kits where you actually send it in and have it analyzed. Not everybody has that luxury. I didn't want to do that. So getting out there and playing with how much you're taking in. Pirates Cove and Will Rogers didn't have enough, felt like I had to pee the whole time. Really started focusing on that this last week. Had a run where I was taking up almost 2,000 milligrams per hour and didn't have to pee really at all. But that's much more than I want to take in. Then over the weekend, I had a trail run where it was more around 800 milligrams and went about twice in 2.5 hours. So we'll play getting that up a little bit more, aiming towards 1,000 milligrams per hour or so. And the main thing is per milliliter or per liter. So getting the dilution right in my bottles and drinking consistently. So that's where I am now with that. It's what I'm practicing. And also my body likes to go to the bathroom. I don't know. But you can also look at, your clothes and stuff after you've run to determine how salty of a sweater you are. My vests usually have salt stains on them. My clothes, when they dry, if I let them dry somewhere like hang dry, will be crusted in salt. So I know for me, I'm a super salty sweater. And the good thing with that is it doesn't change with effort, with heat, but changes the rate at which you sweat, but the consistency of how much salt is in it stays the same. So once you dial that in, you just gotta make sure you're drinking enough and that you have the right solution in your bottles. Gone over hydration, fueling. The other aspect is gear. So I usually like running with a vest. Got the Camelback Apex Pro that I've used pretty exclusively since I started trail racing. I really like it. It's got plenty of space, more than enough space for my water, fuel, and anything else that I could need to carry. The other things would be, socks, shoes, clothing. Usually I wear like a cotton shirt. I actually like that better because it holds on to my sweat a little bit more, which then cools me off. Make sure that I put on some squirrel's nut butter in any areas that I normally chafe. And that pretty much keeps me from getting chafed. So then socks, I like toe socks. Haven't really got stuck with a brand. I like Injinji, they're expensive. I go with the Amazon brands, they've all been pretty good. Main thing is just keeping your toes separate. That way they're not rubbing against each other, causing friction and blisters. And then I'm a huge fan of the Fabletics. I think it's the one short with the liner. That has been my favorite short to run in for a long time. And then recently, I started playing around with half tight. So basically 7-inch short, but it's tight. It's like basically just having a thick liner on, lots of pockets. Just feels pretty good, but I tried it out in the 12-hour and it chafed me really bad. So I do know now I need extra lube when I wear those shorts. Just because of the liner that's in that maybe, or how it's, I don't know. Something in that short tore me up. But then I wore it for about half of the 24-hour. So, and it didn't bother me at all. But the biggest factor has been shoes. Shoes can make or break your race. I did most of the Big Bear and the Ultra Lone Peaks, which are a very minimal shoe, and they felt pretty good, but I should have switched them early on because my left ankle just got destroyed. I think because of the limited amount of cushioning and going through all the climbing and descending on that race with a minimal shoe just wasn't great. So about, I don't know, about 87, I switched, I forget the name of the Ultra that I switched into, much more cushion. My feet felt so good, and I was kicking myself for not having put it on sooner. My last one, I switched between the Ultra Forward Wilds, which I loved, but blister started pretty early on in those. Then I switched to my Topo Ultra Ventures, which those felt amazing. And the last part of the race, I ran in my, I forget which Topo road shoe I was wearing at the time. So 3 different pairs of shoes. And then the 12-hour, I tried out the Mount to Coast T1s. Felt great on the feet. Tore up my toes. So not a great long run shoe for me. And then in the 24, I started out in the Ultra Ventures, switched to my Ultra Forward Vias, and then finished in my Ultra Forward Flows. The last 2 were road shoes. So, just gotta learn to play around right now. I'm trying out the Topo Vistas. They've got more cushioning. The reason why I switched out of the Ultra Ventures in the 24 is that I was really feeling the ground through them. So these have about 5 more millimeters of cushion. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's enough. So, trying to break these in before Leona Divide. So far, I think I like them. I do like that they utilize the same system now for gaiters, which go over your shoe, prevent rocks and sand to get in there, as my Ultras did. So I didn't have to buy new gaiters. But lots of things that, you know, your 4-hour long run in training may not expose, which is why I chose to do those 12 and 24-hour training races in order to get ready for the Outer Divide coming up in just a couple weeks. So thanks guys for watching. Hopefully that information helps you, and remember, be transformed.